All right. So we're sitting in front of Ethereal Metal Records, and this man has some points to make about the fragile rock star ego and why it does not belong in the heavy metal world, which, big surprise, I 100% agree with. um, this guy makes a lot of good points. This is something I also feel very strongly about, so much so that I'm making this video right now. So here we are. What I'd like to do is cover some points he talks about, elaborate on them a little bit more, and kind of get my 2 cents on the situation, and hopefully help propagate the need for talking about this, because it's important. I feel like now, especially more than the last few years, heavy metal's kind of been on an upswing. I feel like it's getting more popular, it's getting more attention, and with that, you got more people who are going to be introduced into the heavy metal world and the heavy metal culture. And unfortunately, heavy metal is not immune to culture vultures. There's going to be a lot of people that take something a lot of us considered really beautiful and they're going to mutilate it and turn it into some bullshit fucking popularity contest. And for those of us, I would like to say, like Ethereal Metal Records and myself, um, that's not cool. This is heavy metal was something and and still continues to be something that helps me identify myself as a human being. It helps me understand my place in this world, and my place is right next to you and him and the next person. There's nothing that brings together more people, I feel like, than a good heavy metal show. And I feel like a lot of that's going to get bastardized and mutilated. And I think a lot of people, especially here in the coming years, are going to use this the wrong way. And so I feel like these kinds of conversations are very important to have, because now more than ever, it's cool to be metal all of a sudden. Well, not more than ever. I think the coolest point in the metal world was the 80s and 90s. But that's a whole nother subject. I already made a video on it. We'll talk about that later. But now, in the 2000s especially, um, it's important to understand what the metal world is and the kind of person you need to be to really exemplify heavy metal. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about it more.
What's up, maniacs? Uh, Tonight I just wanted to make a short little video talking about kind of a personal topic, but it kind of, I don't know if everybody thinks about it. I don't see a lot of like metal channels bring this up, but I wanted to go over why it sucks to have an ego and not value humbleness in the metal scene, as an artist, a content creator, or just anything you do, really. Because, well, I am an artist, not a well known one, very tiny, and obviously the YouTube channel took off pretty good, but no means is my channel big or anything compared to a lot of them out there.
There is something I noticed, and it may just be me. It may be me trying to find myself in other people. I've been known to do that. But there's something he did that kind of I relate to, because I'm the same way. It's so hard for me to call myself an artist, a rock star, a guitar player, a heavy metal guitarist, whatever you want. Like, it's so hard for me to apply labels to myself in this, because it was never about that. I never got into any of this. I never picked up the guitar to be a rock star. I never started metal bands to get a big record deal and be a millionaire on a yacht. Hell, even now, I'm not creating these videos and doing these things because I want a fame or fortune or anything like that. Sure, it's a great product to have, but a byproduct to have. But at the same time, I'm ultimately doing this to express myself. That's it. It really is only that. I could go absolutely nowhere. I could never, ever see a Caribbean beach in my life, and I would be completely fine with that, because it was never about that. It was always about just being able to take the craziness that's there, that bullshit vileness that you get from just existing in this world, and the uncertainty and fear that lives in here, and taking all of that and finding a way to creatively process those emotions and those feelings. And that's what that's what all of this is about for me, is expressing myself and being able to put those otherwise confusing experiences, emotions, and feelings and put it out there, not make it seem so big. You know, it's not as daunting when I'm able to laugh at myself doing these things, which is honestly one of my goals. So I get it. You know, it's hard to even call myself anything other than just some fucking Hesher metalhead, which is exactly what I am. That's all I'll ever be. But anyways, let's go.
But I've always put a lot of value on being humble and not having any ego, because too many of these bands and these people, they just get so engrossed in what they've done and who they are, and they put up this kind of front, this image. It's not who they really are, but it's kind of how they come off, and it usually comes off as a little snobbish and a little bit of being like a dick, and that's not really metal to me,
A lot of that, and this is just my 2 cents, right? This is the opinions of some asshole sitting here in a RGB room with a few guitars hanging on a wall, right? I feel a lot of that stems from insecurity. I think deep down inside, for a lot of us metalheads, there is a scared child. There is that representation of the experiences, at least I've had, of not being able to fit in, not feeling like I fit in, not feeling like I belong, right? Um, I can give some examples, not too detailed, but it was always weird to me to see people always happy, always productive, always winning, always just content. I guess content's a subjective word, but it just it was weird to me to see people just always winning, and I don't think that's natural. I think people lose. I think you need to lose in life. I think you have a lot to learn when you lose. I feel like you only learn when you lose. And for some people, they can't handle not winning. They can't handle not looking like they're always on top. They can't handle not feeling like they're the greatest thing ever because it helps them validate themselves. And you don't just see that in the metal world, you see that everywhere, right? You see a lot of people sitting here talking big and ultimately saying nothing. They talk loud, but nothing comes out, if that makes sense. And unfortunately, you see a lot of these metal bands fall suit to that. And you can see it on full display when they have these ego trips, when they get bent out of shape because somebody's taking pictures at their show, or when people are being too loud or at their show. Oh, you're not paying attention to me. You're not giving me the attention. You're not praising me enough. Fuck off. Get out of here with that shit. Okay? Anytime I've ever played at a show, for example, anytime I've ever been on stage and played, it was never me. It was never about me. I have always told my band members this. I've always told people that I've been in bands with. If I wanted it to be about me, it would be the Ray experience. It would be Ray and friends. It wouldn't be Heresy. It wouldn't be Reign of Chaos. It wouldn't be a band. It would just be one dude and everybody else backs me up. I 100%, I 110% believe in obeying the riff. I say that a lot, but I mean it. And what I mean by that is I channel those frustrations through me and I connect with people. That's why I'm on stage, is to connect with people and help process emotions that may make me feel like I'm alone. But when I'm on that stage, when I'm playing shows and I'm just talking to people about metal and being a part of the metal world, all those lonely feelings 100% go away. 100. It's so fucking awesome to see and feel those kinds of things and to relate to those people and make new friends and feel strong, That's what it's about.
metal should be gritty. It should really snobbish and a little bit of being like a dick, and that's not really metal to me. metal should be gritty. It should be, about a little bit about brotherhood, sisterhood too, Let's not exclude the chicks, but I just think it's stupid, like when you've done a lot of great things, it's good to pat yourself on the back and acknowledge those. You should do that. You need to tell yourself that you're really great at doing stuff when you are, and you need to acknowledge when you're really good at something because you shouldn't deny that. But, bragging and, acting like you're better because you have more numbers than someone with nothing, or because you're good at an instrument, or you make music, it doesn't make you better than anyone. Every single person watching the video right now has just as much of a voice as I do or anybody else does on this platform.
Something that when I first started playing guitar, there was something my dad told me. Piece of advice that he told me, and it's a piece of advice that to this day I still practice. And I think it's something that a lot of people need to hear. The very first riff I ever learned how to play was the opening to Iron Man by Black Sabbath. And when I tell you I played that opening for months, that's all I would play was that one opening. The and then y'all know, y'all know. I'm not gonna embarrass myself here. I might, who knows? But it was that one riff, and I played that forever until my dad stepped in and he goes, "Son, you got to learn something. You got to learn something different, please." And it was easy for me to find my comfort zone there and sit into that and to rest on those laurels and say, "Oh, cool, I can play heavy metal now." But the piece of advice that he gave me that really helped me step out of that is he looked me dead in the eyes and he goes, "Son, you can't suck any worse than you already do now. You keep doing anything, you just keep at it, and you're going to get better. You're going to get used to it. You're going to find what you need to find out in there. You just need to keep doing it and keep trying new things because you're not going to get better doing the same old shit." And boy, let me tell you, that's a fixed point in my life. That experience really was, because it really unlocked a lot of doors for me and it helped me understand something. We all suck. Every single one of us. Ethereal sucks. He sucked at making YouTube videos when he first started. I still suck. We all start at a point where we all don't know what the fuck we're doing. And that is 100% part of the experience. It's not something that anybody should be ashamed of, anybody should be afraid of. We all grow as human beings. That's what we do. That's how we live. We fail, we learn, and we adjust and we succeed afterward. That's a scientific theory and that applies to everything. And so when you're content creating, it doesn't matter if you got 100 million subscribers or if you got 5 subscribers, right? You all start at the same place. Now, there is the whole idea of like content farms, how a lot of these corporations will push people to be content creators in the face of content creation and all that stuff. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that a lot of people don't have an easier opportunity to be successful than some people. That's just life as is. But for the most part, there's nothing, absolutely nothing that you see somebody doing that you can't do yourself if you don't just continue to do it. Just keep at it. Just keep pushing yourself. There's no difference between Mr. Beast and yourself. The only difference is time and effort. And nowadays, Mr. Beast has this whole machine behind him, but it started with an idea. There's nothing different between you and any of your other favorite heavy metal artists, content creators, whatever, football players, whatever. You need to spend time and invest yourself in it, or else you're not going to get what you want out of it. That's the end all be all. And it doesn't matter if you want humbleness or creativity out of it. Maybe you want arrogance and cockiness and you want that fucking rock star label. Well, if you keep doing it, you're gonna get it, and that's the that's the facts of it. So, as a creator, as a artist, just do it. We all suck. We all suck. Just suck less than some people. That's it. Just keep doing it.
And same with musicians, man. Like, I know we're all fans of these legendary bands and we fucking worship these bands, but you should never get on your hands and knees and crawl for these bands. Any You name any band that are like gods of metal. I would not like get on my knees for anyone in the metal scene. I don't care who it is, if it's my favorite band. uh like, a lot of people need to stop having this sheep mentality, and this kind of gets into my next point, that, like, dude, like, it's ridiculous the point to which I'm sure social media has contributed to it, but it's just ridiculous how much self degradation people have. Like, it's kind of sick to see, and how little people think of themselves. I just want everybody to think about that next time they like meet an awesome band member that they love. Of course you're gonna be excited. Of course you love them. Like,
That's what we in the heavy metal world, and I'm sure he's heard of this term. Um, that's the machine. That's the whole media machine pushing out this idea that you are listening to, you are looking at, you are interacting with somebody outside of your realm of reality. And that is total 100% unequivocal Himalayan horseshit. That's all that is, right? There it is the greatest lie, the greatest illusion ever propagated on this earth, on society, that somehow some cosmic fucking hierarchy out there decided to look down on this planet and say that one person is better than you. Danny Filth, Cradle of Filth is better than you. You don't deserve as much as Cradle of Filth. Danny Filth owns you, right? And I'm using Cradle of Filth very specifically for this very intentional purpose because he's been a very big piece of shit lately. And he exemplifies a lot that is wrong with the metal community. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely going to be a video of him and me expressing my thoughts and views on him, but that's neither here nor there. But he's right. There's nothing that's different from you and them other than the amount of time they spent honing their craft. That's it. They just invested more time in it. And think about it. You think your heroes are out there worshiping other people, right? You think your heroes are out there degrading themselves? Isn't the whole purpose to relate to them and to be like them, right? To find solace in that person? And yet so many people are so easily convinced to put themselves outside of that realm. And it boggles my fucking mind because when I see somebody exhibit personality traits that I like, that I admire, when I see somebody have something that I want, my first instinct isn't to say, "Oh, well, I don't deserve it." Your first instinct should be, "How do I get there?" You should be excited. You should be motivated because you see living proof of something that you want, and you at that point it becomes tangible. It becomes more of a reality to you because when you really think about it, when you really start to hammer it in your head that all you need to do is put in the effort, it's such a wonderful feeling, and there's nothing more motivating and nothing more driving than to see somebody else succeed in something that you're interested in. And that's the mentality that you need to have. And I think that's a lot of the mentality that tries to get smothered and covered by a lot of these big time corporations and a lot of these people that try to hoard this like it's some kind of precious resource when it really isn't. Positivity, encouragement, motivation, strength, none of that. None of that should be hoarded. It shouldn't be gate locked. It shouldn't be gate kept. There should be no paywall in front of that. You should just be able to access that. And we should all really be able to take those feelings and propagate that because that's, to me, how we grow as a society. There's nothing more, there's nothing that's going to make the metal community stronger than us helping each other make it stronger. I gain nothing whatsoever from holding somebody else down. And a lot of your artists, a lot of your the good ones at least, they'll feel the same way. And if somebody approaches you like that, where they try to maintain that barrier between you and them, fuck them. That's textbook reason number one why you should not hang around that person, because that person's weak. That person's fragile. That person has a huge ego, and they're not worth your time because you're going to discover that a lot of that shit is just a facade. True strength doesn't come from oppressing people.
You're so connected to the music, but you should never act like anybody's better than you, and you should never, you know, you should never show respect to someone that isn't giving you that same respect back. Numbers don't matter, music doesn't matter, accomplishments don't matter. There's people at all stages differently in life, and it doesn't none of that matters. Like, I'm telling you, every single person, doesn't matter who you are, that's watching the video right now, you're you have just as much a voice, if you want to, as anybody else. Like, nobody is of any more importance than anybody else, is what I'm trying to say. Make People make good music, people make YouTube videos, people might write books and stuff, but I mean, it's just a crock of shit, and I've noticed a lot of people in the metal scene have this like rock star fucking bullshit attitude about them, like, oh, you should know, like, back when I said this in an interview or in a podcast once. It's like, dude, these are your fans. They pay money. They support you. A lot of them are gonna know everything about you, but a lot of them aren't. They don't have the fucking time. People have jobs. People have lives. People have their own music to create. People have their own shit to do. You're not like a fucking god, and I think it's so anti-metal to like project yourself as this, like, just fucking like glamorous, like, oh, everyone should know who I am. I'm better than like everybody. It's like, no, dude, no, nobody owes you that. Uh, you got to remember that fans make the world go round, and it's the same fucking thing with YouTube too. Without the viewers, there's no YouTube channels. Without the fans, there's no music. There's no income coming in from merch sales or just listening and buying records and stuff. It's like, dude, I'm so sick of that. And it's like, why is there so many people in the metal scene like that? It's like, there shouldn't be. It's such a crock of shit, and it's just sickening to see, because it's like, you listen to the music, and it's gritty, it's dark, it's underground, and then you see some of these fucking, I don't want to say the word posers because I don't like misusing the word, but fucking posers that act like these glamorous fucking rock stars. And it's like, dude, get the fuck out of here with your dramatic.
Because posers do exist. They exist in the metal world, and I feel like easy to spot them, but it's even easier to fall prey to these guys because they exemplify and they showcase, at least at the surface level, a lot of what you may be looking for in the heavy metal world, right? Uh, Once again, let's take our star student here, Danny Filth from Cradle of Filth. As a teenager, I saw a lot of that band, and my rule of thumb with this stuff is, if you look at it, if I look at a band, right? If I look at the cover art, if I look at just them and something feels off, then I usually go with my gut. When I first saw Cradle of Filth as I think it was like an album cover or in a magazine or something like that, there's just something about them that just looked completely wacky to me. Completely fucking wacky to me. And first off, let's establish something here. As lame as it is to misuse metal and to be an asshole, it's even lamer to try to shut people out of what you think metal is, right? It's a very thin line because at some you cross it and then you're the egotistical asshole, right? If you've listened to Cradle of Filth and it impacted your life positively, right? If you were able to get something out of that music and be a better person, then congratulations, they've done their job as a band. I cannot take away from that. I can't trash it. I can't say your feelings are invalid. Oh no, you're not listening to Cradle of Filth the right way. None of that, right? If you've listened to this band and you've made a positive change in your life, you found strength, you found a sense of belonging, I'm all for that. 100% for that. But for me personally, Danny Filth has exposed himself as a terrible human being. Terrible human being. He is a big diva piece of shit. And in my humble opinion, the only reason he's in the metal world is because he didn't have the chops to make it in Broadway. He didn't have the chops to make it in mainstream. He's never going to win a Grammy. And I feel like that's what he wants. I feel like all of this is to feed that kind of ego. And so the music, I will never talk trash about something that's changed somebody's life. The human being, though, that's open season on that boy. And I can only hope he goes to bed feeling as big of a piece of shit as he's made some of these other people feel recently. That's it. I don't want anything bad to happen to him. I don't want him to be in a car wreck or nothing like that. I don't want him to be broke, out of a job or anything like that. I want him to lose sleep. That's it. I want you to feel like a piece of shit sometimes. That's all. And I hope that it happens. Anyways, onwards.
Diva ass. Like, it's just ridiculous, man. So, like, a big thing I want to say to people, like, and I know a lot of you are like, oh, this video is not fucking necessary. It's just, I just wanted to talk about it. It just came to my head. But, like, people gotta stop acting like sheep. Don't just follow everything aimlessly. Don't listen to everything someone says just because you're a fan. Don't fucking faint or like get insane and weird when you meet like a band member and stuff. They don't even want that, you know? It's like just 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 realize that you're worth as much as any of these other people, and it's just ridiculous. Don't listen to anybody that says otherwise. There's too many fucking divas in the metal scene and fucking everywhere, dude. You gotta ignore people like that. And this message, there's a lot of people who are in their like 40s, 50s, and 60s who watch my channel, and a lot of them probably already they're like, dude, fuck, I'm way ahead of you. I've been doing that since before you were born. But it's more to like a lot of people younger than me, like teenagers or just hitting their early 20s, and it's like, just don't devalue yourself, man. It's
This video is already long enough. The guy has a lot of really good points. Like I said, I wish I could go over more of them. I might do like a full video at some point, but that's going to be a really long video because we're not even halfway. We're a little over halfway through this, and I still got more to talk about. But we'll call it here because it gives me the opportunity to talk about something that I feel is the most important in all this: the introduction into the heavy metal world. As a teen, being in your early 20s, when you first see that heavy metal band that just clicks with you and you make that connection, you're going to want to dive into that world. You're going to want to be a part of it. And depending on who that band is, you might get led astray. You might end up being in metal and getting the completely wrong experience from what it really is and how therapeutical and beneficial it can be. Easily a piece of advice I can give you to help circumvent that, to help you stay on the right path. If you like a band, if you like for example, let's look into Pantera. When I first saw Vulgar Display of Power, when I was handed that CD by my uncle, that's when everything changed. That's when I started to find my identity as a teenager, as an adult, and even now. It's from that album. When you find that artist, when you find that band, you need to look at them as a human being. What do I mean by that? Look at how they hold themselves up, right? When I first saw that cover and I saw the band members just sitting there in plain clothes, right? Threw me for a fucking loop. I, as a teenager, wanted to be so much like Dimebag Darrell. I really did. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. I think everybody has that one idol that they want to be, right? I want to be James Hetfield. I want to be Dave Mustaine. I want to be this, I want to be that. For me, it was Dimebag Daryl. Luckily for me, he shot a lot of home videos. And a strong suggestion. I strongly suggest anybody find this, pick it up, try to find it online if you can, toss him some money. But this DVD collection, these home videos, these vulgar videos from Pantera did so much to help me understand what it meant to be, in my eyes, a metal god. And in those videos, it wasn't them getting praise, it wasn't them being worshipped, it wasn't any of that. They didn't sit here and try to sell me guitars, equipment, they didn't try to sell me fucking a brand, clothes. They didn't say anything about that. All I saw when I put on those videos were just a bunch of dudes who were best friends having fun. And that was so fucking impactful to me that this band, this, and a lot of people would call them the kings of metal. I'm not saying it. A lot of people are saying it. They really like it. It's a great band. You're going to love it. But this band has such a strong influence on the heavy metal world. And to see them when they're not on stage just be a bunch of fucking goofballs enjoying each other, having fun, that's what it's about, man. That's exactly what it's about. It's about expressing yourself and being that person that's inside and not having any kind of apprehension about that. It's hard. It's hard for me to put in words because it's such a strong emotion for me, and it really is hard for me to really accurately talk about this stuff. But go out there, man. Experience metal as a whole. It's beyond one band. It's beyond one experience. If it wasn't for Pantera, I wouldn't have found King's X, Living Color. I wouldn't have found Clutch. I wouldn't have found a lot of this stuff, man. Even if it wasn't for Pantera, I wouldn't have even branched out into other music like Sneaker Pimps, Plasticines, right? I love music so much as a way of expressing yourself that I find any representation of any emotion that I have despite the genre, because no matter what genre you're in, there are always going to be people that treat it as an art, as a form of expressionism. That's what I'm addicted to. That is what I look for. I'm looking for those people in the country world that are there to express themselves and not just be some country boy singing about my tractor and my dog, right? None of that bullshit. I'm not into the rap scene to listen to people exploit it and say dumb shit on repeat, right? I'm looking for people that are expressing real life issues, real life problems through this beautiful medium called music. And in the heavy metal world, I don't think there's any more example of an individual expressionism. You look at all these bands. I mean, let's take for example the whole death metal stuff, right? Venom, black metal, and look, warning for all the metalheads out there. I suck at labeling this shit. I could not tell you the difference between like, well, I guess I could tell you the difference between doom metal and black metal, but to me, it's all, it's all the same group of guys just having fun, right? But you look at all these bands and you can tell the difference between a Behemoth and a Dark Throne and Exhumed, right? It screams individualism and personality, and it's such a good way to cultivate that in yourself, to find your identity and to be unapologetically you. I could go on forever, but I'll end it like this. There's nothing more beautiful than finding yourself. There's no easier way to find yourself than jumping in the heavy metal community, meeting some of these cool people, and experiencing the single greatest example of self-expressionism out there. Now, unfortunately, like I said, we're on an upswing here. It's getting more popular, and as things become more popular, they become more user-friendly, homogenized, generic, they become more sterile. Just keep an eye out. Your rule of thumb when it comes to the heavy metal world or anything in general, judge their actions. Don't judge their music. Don't judge their image, their appearance. Don't even fucking judge the words they say. Judge who they are as a human being. And if it doesn't vibe with you, you don't need it. I don't care how good the fucking music is. I don't care how rich you are. I don't care how many push ups, sit ups, pull ups. I don't care how many houses you sell. I don't care about any of that shit, dude. You could be the single most powerful human being in the world. And if you're a piece of shit, you're a piece of shit. Them's facts. Anyways, I want to give a big shout out to Ethereal Metal. Um, I love those fucking posters, bro. I love the fact that this kind of metal is coming back. That these kinds of people are finally coming out of our rocks, because it's been rough being a metal fan like these days. It really has. Over these last decade or so, man, it's been real rough to try to find good new metal. And I think we're on the precipice of something great. And I'm really excited to see people like EMR here waving the banner so proudly. And I'm right there with you, brother. So I've been Ray, and this is your day in heavy metal.